Hello everybody, welcome to the Boxing Science Podcast. This is episode 58, where I'm going to be answering your questions on a range of different subjects regarding strength and conditioning, sports science in boxing and combat sports. How to prevent injuries in boxing, how to adapt workouts for bodyweight workouts and limited equipment workouts, where we're actually going to be sharing one of our popular workouts that we've shared on the Boxing Science YouTube channel. We've also got some questions around conditioning and nutritional strategies for heavyweight boxers and a range more information. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and hit the like button to help the growth of this channel. And let's get into this week's episode of the Boxing Science Podcast. So, first question from Mohammed_Kara. What are the proper ways to warm up to prevent injuries in boxing training? Now, this is a really important area because boxing can inflict a lot of injuries in terms of tightness around the shoulders, in the hips, in the knees, in the lower back. So we need to make sure that we warm up correctly to perform the best that we can in the boxing session, but also reduce the likelihood of injury. Because boxing is a really high impact sport, punches can range from 500 all the way up to 4,000 newtons, especially heavy weights. So a lot of high impact forces, a lot of high velocity actions, a lot of high volume as well. Think about how many punches that you actually throw during a boxing session. It can range between 500 all the way up to 1,500 punches in just one single session. Also, you're spending hours being in that same stance. So you're going to create a lot of muscular imbalances. That's why at Boxing Science, we encourage our athletes to be working on the Boxing Science mobility warm-up every single session. This consists of 10 to 12 different exercises that focus on our four key areas: rotational mobility, shoulder mobility, hip mobility, and glute strength. Start off on the floor with eagles and windmills. So this is really working on rotational mobility. We then progress into floor slides, which is working shoulder mobility. Then we look to activate the glutes with our glute bridges and side clams. We then work on leg lowers, challenging hip mobility, but also firing up the core. We then do a pigeon stretch, challenging hip mobility. Another exercise, yoga press-ups. This is strengthening all the upper body, ready to go in to boxing training and strength and conditioning. We've got Spider-Man to twist. This is one of the best stretches that you can do as a boxer because this is really opening up through rotational mobility whilst also challenging glute strength and hip mobility at the same time. We're then going to some foundational movements with squat to press, lunge and rotate, and the lateral lunges. And then we finish off with our banded side clams. When you're going into boxing, doing this routine should only take you between 5 and 10 minutes. Flow through it, 8 and 10 reps on each one, and only just one set on each exercise. This will make a really big difference in helping reduce injuries in boxing. Now, just to add on to this, you can also look to potentiate an athlete. So this routine is primarily looking to work on activating and mobilizing the key muscle groups. Then you need to look to try and potentiate, ready to go. So this is where we're looking to fire up their muscles ready for explosive performance. So you're looking at some sort of plyometrics. For boxing, I like to use pogos, band-assisted pogos, or just bodyweight pogos. And then you go into ice skaters. And then you can even do some boxing-specific work, doing some banded shadow box and punch iso holds. Firing up the body through a boxing-specific action. Doing the bands will help improve lower body activation during punch-specific actions. Then the punch iso holds, looking to increase the snap at the end range of the punch. This warm-up is accessible across the Boxing Science YouTube channel, but also you can download this poster on the Boxing Science website. Check out the link in the description so you can start implementing the Boxing Science warm-up in your training sessions. A quick interruption to tell you about our brand new course from Boxing Science. This is the ultimate coaching for combat sports online. This is a course that we've delivered all over the world. Now you can access this online. We have online webinars, practical demonstrations, and a whole load more. So if you're wanting to find out our training secrets of Boxing Science, check out the link in the description. You can also get 20% off using this discount code. Hanane7617 has asked, can I be in elite shape by body weight training? Could you please name the top 5 bodyweight exercises for a boxer to stay in shape? In terms of can you get in elite shape without using any form of resistance? Probably not. You need some sort of external resistance to be able to really optimize performance. You need to use stuff like loaded jumps, squat, deadlift, punch-specific exercises as well. I think these are the key exercises that you need to help get into elite shape. However, if you are restricted to just bodyweight exercises only, range of different exercises you can use. First one being counter movement jumps, because we're wanting to try and load up the lower body, trying to improve lower body impulse. So you can do range of different counter movement jumps. You can just do normal body weight ones. So you can do reactive counter movement jump, drop counter movement jump, do repeated counter movement jump to challenge yourself with that. So that's a way that you can keep increasing the load to keep increasing adaptation without external resistance. You've also got pogos. Pogos are really important in increasing reactive strength. And this is important for producing force through the kinetic chain because it all starts from the feet. So it needs a strong base for that. But then also it's helpful for your footwork. So we've got pogos. Then we've also got two key isometric exercises. So you will need some sort of external resistance, but using something like a wall will be great. Doing some punch isometric holds up against the wall is going to be body weight, but working against that external resistance. And doing this between 3 and 5 second holds is going to be able to transfer that force from the lower body through to the upper body in all one action. This will increase your punching strength, but also the snap at the end range of the punch. You've also got rotational core strength. We found at Boxing Science that isometric rotational core strength has a 60 to 80% transfer towards performance on a landmine punch throw. We're actually using a cable machine to be able to increase rotational strength. However, we can do this up against the wall. At Boxing Science, we either use a wall or use a med ball up against the wall just to soften the blow a little bit. Also use a towel as well. I've said to use a towel, push it up against the wall, so then you can maximally rotate against the wall to really optimize the obliques. And then I'd be looking to do something for the posterior shoulder. So like I mentioned, you're wanting to improve pulling strength. You can do TRX rows or pull-ups. But if you don't have access to any kit at all, doing something like prone TYWs will be important to try and improve posterior shoulder strength. You can also do a long levered plank hold, which will be good for the posterior shoulder, but also important for core development. So actually think about it, I'll probably do my fifth one as a long levered prone hold. So they're the 5 exercises, body weight. You've got counter movement jumps, you've got pogos, you've got your punch iso holds, your rotational core exercises, and then also a prone elevated hold. You can actually do this as part of a quick workout to do between 5 and 10 reps on each exercise. For the holds, you want to be doing between 3 and 5 second holds on the isometric punch and also on the rotational holds, and then between 30 and 40 seconds on the long levered hold. Pretty good question. Hopefully that's a good answer and something that you can start implementing in your workouts. Next question from Cam Climbs 7691. With your athletes, do you use slow duration runs to develop the aerobic system or for recovery, or do you rely more on technical sports sessions like drill, bag work and pad work? Really good and well-structured question that, because that's exactly how I see improving aerobic performance. And a lot of the lower intensity work is actually done during their boxing. If you're looking at technical work, pad work, stuff like that, it's not often where they actually get into that red zone. They only probably get into that red zone through pad circuits and bag circuits as well, when they're really looking to finish off a session during sparring. But a lot of the drill work, especially when they're looking at technique, is more or less done under 80% of maximum heart rate. So a lot of their aerobic endurance work is actually done during boxing. So there's not a lot of need to do that. Also, they've got like a very good aerobic base. So for them to start doing like a lot of 10Ks, 5Ks, working on aerobic endurance, working on zone 2, zone 3, they're not really going to improve their aerobic endurance that much because it's not enough intensity to stimulate a response, and also that they're quite good and efficient in this area that they're not really going to shift it that much. So we use high intensity conditioning primarily as our go-to to help improve cardiovascular and also muscle buffering peripheral adaptations as well. This essentially is improving them as high intensity athletes. And the thing is, if you improve this part, the high intensity part, that's going to help you perform better at these lower intensities. So you're more likely to improve your aerobic endurance and your efficiency at lower intensities by setting the bar a little bit higher. We do recovery runs as part of the program to distribute load management a little bit better, but to also look to try and burn some calories. Energy expenditure is a big thing at Boxing Science with our athletes to make sure that they are on the right track to make weight safely and effectively. So we do recovery runs. We don't do big road runs. We don't do steady state cardio. We do variations of the active recovery runs where we'll do intervals, but still working at zone 3, which is the green zone if you're working on the Polar app, underneath 80% maximum heart rate. And these are different intervals ranging from 4 minutes through to 30 seconds, and then sometimes going back up to 4 minutes. And this is just getting them working through the gears, working through like some higher pace intervals, not going too heavy, not going too fast, having longer recovery, and then going again. Basically getting them less monotonous running, getting them opening up their hips a little bit more. So hopefully that's answered your question. We get a lot of aerobic endurance through the technical work like you suggested, and we only do this active recovery session once or twice a week, depending on the athlete, depending on how much weight that they need to lose and what their current fitness goals are. So this is a really interesting question from MUFC 786. What is the percentage split of nature versus nurture for punching power? It is really interesting. I get asked this quite a lot. How to improve punch power? Are you born with it? Can you create a puncher? It's not necessarily black and white. I think that there is a lot of genetic factors when it comes to being strong, being explosive, versus people that aren't that explosive and might be a little bit more of an endurance athlete. A lot to do with their training in the past. I don't think that the Boxing Science program can necessarily create a puncher. It can help you punch harder and optimize your potential, but it's not going to make you into a Gennady Golovkin. It's not going to make you into Canelo. That's why we've got on the wall at Boxing Science, master the things that take no talent. Move better, get stronger, move faster, punch harder, unlock your potential. Everything is around the athlete becoming the best version of themselves, rather than it being right where you're going to end up being this absolute monster puncher. You're going to be punching like Deontay Wilder. That's not going to be the case. People like Deontay Wilder, Golovkin, Canelo, they are blessed with a range of genetics that are conducive to punching harder, being technically great, having that grit, having that determination, but also they'll have a lot of factors in terms of their training that will help support that has helped unlock their potential as a boxer. So that's basically what we try and do at Boxing Science. So here's a question from Justin Flores, 1620. Best strength and conditioning workouts to do at home with limited equipment. Now, it really depends on what equipment that you have. Have you got dumbbells, kettlebells, bands? Are you just going to be doing bodyweight workouts? It all depends. Let's say you've got a kettlebell. This is the one kettlebell workout that we did on the Boxing Science YouTube channel. Fantastic way to get stronger, more explosive, more dynamic with just using one piece of kit. You can vary between 12 kilos and 20 kilos. Check out this workout that we did at Boxing Science. This question is from Big Jester 777, one of the regular features on our channel. Appreciate it. What do you see most lack type of condition in heavyweight boxers? Peripheral adaptation or muscle buffering or central adaptation? So with heavyweight boxers, we primarily focus on improving peripheral adaptations and muscle buffering adaptations. And the reason why is because heavyweights are obviously big, they've got a lot of muscle, they've got a lot of weight, and they're going to produce high force actions. With these high force actions, for them to be able to utilize energy, they're going to need to be able to utilize that oxygen effectively. So that's why we need peripheral adaptations. Also, with muscle buffering, they're very likely to have a high acidic responses when they start stepping up intensity. The reason why is because the oxygen needs to be delivered towards the working muscle. And because there's a lot of muscle and a lot of mass, the heart can only work so hard to be able to deliver that oxygen through the blood in time. So with that, heavyweight boxers are more prone to having that high acidic response. So with this, we need to improve our ability to extract oxygen from the blood, to utilize that as an energy source, to offset any increases in muscular acidosis. When that muscular acidosis is increasing, which it will do with a lot of heavyweight boxers, we need to be able to control that acidosis. We need to have our muscle buffering mechanisms working effectively to be able to control the amount of muscular acidosis working in our muscles. With this, short answer, heavyweights primarily need to work on peripheral adaptations, which are 30-second max out sprints with 3 minutes recovery, or muscle buffering adaptations. Gold standard session for us is at 12 seconds on, 48 seconds off, between 15 and 20 reps at around 90% maximum power. Give this a go, let me know how you get on. So staying with the heavyweight theme, a question from Niall. I have a question about heavyweights and their nutrition. Do you have your heavyweight athletes bulk and cut? For example, before fight camp, being a surplus and then being a deficit in a fight camp? Or do heavyweights generally remain around maintenance all year round? So this is quite interesting. I think that with heavyweights, if you can just try and optimize the body composition in terms of what weight that you're fighting at, the body fat that you have, and you feel like you're performing at this, there's no need to stop trying to manipulate this as much. If you're clean liver outside of camp, maintenance all year round, being able to fuel will be a lot better than trying to put on mass and then trying to reduce it during training camp, because heavyweights have high metabolisms and then they're going to be going into hard, heavy sparring, and then their bodies need to be able to recover from this. So the last thing that we want to do is bulk up our heavyweight as heavy as possible, then start to try and cut them down during training camp, because they don't want to be in an energy deficit. They want to be able to fuel performance, fuel the adaptations, make sure that they're getting the very best out of sparring. So with that in mind, I'd encourage most heavyweights basically try and keep the same weight, same body composition all the way around so they can fuel their performance. Take advantage of the position that you're in, because there's a lot of boxers that love to be in an energy surplus all the way through training camp. Obviously, lighter weights that need to be making weight, obviously, are going to be in an energy deficit. So take advantage of it, because you're going to get a lot more out of your recovery and out of your performance. Now, let's say for an athlete that is looking to put on some muscle mass, I would look to try and put on some mass outside of camp. So that's where they're probably going to increase their energy intake in order to try and put on muscle. But it's not necessarily going to be called a bulk phase and then a cut phase, because we're not wanting, again, them to put on too much weight to then drop all the way down. But also with like bodybuilders, they're looking to try and put on as much muscle as possible. If we go into a bulk phase with a heavyweight boxer and they put on over 3 or maybe even 5 kilos, they're going to feel heavy and sluggish going into training camp. So even in an off season, if we're trying to put on some muscle, we're only aiming for like anywhere between 1 and 2 kilos. If we go anything above 3 kilos of muscle in an off season, they're going to start feeling slow. It's going to affect their fitness adaptations going into camp. It's not like so heavy going into bulk and cut phase, because the bulk phase will affect how much muscle that they put on and how much weight they put on. They obviously put on some fat mass as well, which makes a cut phase going to be more dramatic. And then they're going to be underfueling themselves during training camp. I find that most heavyweights often during training camp just start to take off that little bit of weight naturally, even though they're having a lot of calories in there, not really being on a restricted diet. So yeah, that's what my take is in terms of nutrition for heavyweights. If you want to find out more about this, go and check out Lee Rickards, our performance nutritionist at Boxing Science, on his Instagram, boxingscience_nutrition. Okay, so final question. I'm an IT professional with limited time for twice a day training. However, I'm passionate about boxing. My weekly schedule includes boxing 3 days a week on alternate days with strength and conditioning on the other 3. Could you provide some tips on how to optimize my training for better performance and balance? I would say to potentially do more boxing than strength and conditioning. You've got equal at the minute. So when you're equaling the boxing and strength and conditioning out, you're only going to get stronger and fit as you are getting your technical performance. Technical performance are the cornerstones of you becoming a better boxer. So I would suggest to probably do boxing either 4 or 5 days a week. Start integrating your strength and conditioning around your boxing. So you can do your mobility and movement as part of your warm-up. You can do plyometrics before you go into your boxing. You can finish off your boxing with a conditioning workout, whether that is air bike sprints, whether that's sprinting outside, whether that's doing a treadmill run, whether it's doing a body weight circuit. You can also do some of your strength exercises as part of a circuit, something like goblet squats, press-ups, TRX row, walking lunges. Doing that as a quad set, back to back, can help improve fitness, can help improve strength and maintain your strength work and your muscle mass as well. So with that, it's not excelling in strength conditioning, but it's making sure that you're excelling as part of your boxing. And then just do 1 or 2 dedicated strength conditioning sessions where you're doing a full range of weightlifting exercises that support your boxing performance. Then also doing a high intensity run with this as well. And then just making sure that you're optimizing your recovery in between, making sure you're having harder days, making sure you're having lighter days, to make sure that on them harder days, you're able to push your body, and after, you're helping that body recover. So hopefully there are a few little tips for you to make sure that you're getting the most out of your training and improving your boxing performance. Okay guys, so that is the end of this week's episode, and this is the last episode of 2024. So thank you very much for all your questions this year and making the Boxing Science podcast. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button so you support the growth of the channel. Hopefully in 2025, we're going to have our YouTube plaque in there where we're going to be hitting 100,000 subscribers. So if you're not subscribed yet, please support the Boxing Science YouTube channel by hitting the subscribe button so we can get that plaque just behind me, just here. So thank you very much for watching. Hopefully see you on the next video.